Yes, you can use your hardware effects in Tracktion Waveform just like you're using an effects plugin. And maybe you want to use a guitar pedal to beef up a synth line, or maybe you want to use some hardware rack units to add some analog character to your tracks. This is all possible, and in this video I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up. I'm Zane, welcome to Audio Tech TV, where it's my goal to help you conquer the tech so you can unleash your creative beast. Now, before we get into Tracktion Waveform and get into setting this all up, I just want to talk about the hardware that you're going to need first, because you can't do this with just any audio interface. You're going to need an audio interface with at least 4 outputs. So something like the Focusrite 2i4 would work, and there's quite a few others, and the number of outputs you need depends on the number of hardware effects that you want to add. So if you have 4 outputs, 2 of those will be used for your monitor speakers or for your headphone outputs. So output 1 and 2 are your main stereo outputs for listening to your song while you're working on it. You need those 2. Then if you have 3 and 4 as your outputs, you can connect a hardware unit. If it's just a mono hardware unit, you can connect one to output 3, and then you can connect another one to output 4. Then of course you're going to need a hardware effect of some sort. It could be a guitar pedal stomp box, or maybe it's something like this, a hardware compressor. For this demo, I'm going to be using the Zoom Multi-Effects guitar pedal here. And then you'll need a couple of cables. So you're going to need a cable to go into your audio interface and one coming back out. And the type of cables that you need all depends on the hardware unit that you're connecting. For this, I'm just going to use some standard guitar cables. If you're using something like a compressor or some sort of rack gear, I recommend getting some balanced cables to keep some of the noise interference out. But having said all of that, let's look at connecting this. All right, so basically what we want to do here is create a loop with our audio interface. So we're going to connect one cable that's going to go in our output of our effect, and that's going to go into the input of our audio interface. And the next cable is the input of our effect unit, and this is going to the output of our audio interface. And with it connected like this, I can send the output from a track in waveform to the effect, and then have it come back into waveform, allowing us to use it just like we would use an effect plugin. And it is that easy once we have it all set up. All right, with the hardware all set up, we can now go into Tracktion Waveform and set it up in there. But first, I just want to ask, if you're getting some value out of this video, can you please give it a thumbs up? It really helps my channel and I appreciate it so much. Now, let's get into Waveform. All right, with Waveform open, we want to go to Settings. And then you want to go to your audio devices section. Make sure you're using ASIO as your audio device type, and make sure whatever your audio interface is selected as your device. And once you have that selected, you'll notice you have all of your available channels over here. So you have your outputs on top and your inputs down in the bottom section. So if your inputs and outputs aren't enabled, you can see they're disabled here. I'm actually using the ADAT input 3 and output 3 for this demo, and you can see it's disabled both here and there. So I would just want to click on where it says disabled, and now it's enabled. And the same thing down at the bottom, I will click on enabled. But you're also going to notice that it's 3 and 4. So it's kind of created a stereo pair here. So let's click on our output. And down in the bottom section here, it says treat as stereo channel pair. Let's unclick that. And now we can also give this an alias or a name. So I'm going to call this Zoom Guitar Effects. And we're going to do the same thing down in the input. So click on it, unclick treat as stereo channel pair, and then go down to the alias. I'm going to call it Zoom Guitar Effects. And if you really want, you could name it input and output, but it's not really necessary because it only allows you to use inputs as inputs and outputs as outputs. So you're not going to get confused when we get into the project. Speaking of which, this is all done in here now, so we can open a project. So I have a project open here, and I have a guitar track that was recorded just with a DI going directly into the audio interface. So there's no effects on this. It wasn't recorded through an amplifier or anything. It's just the raw guitar recorded directly into the audio interface. And here's what this sounds like. All right, it's pretty dull. So we want to add the effect on here. So go over to this section of the track, right click on it, then you want to click on Add Plugin to the left. And then you go to Waveform, Utility, and we want to click on Insert. And with this window open, we can actually name this. So I'm going to name it again, Zoom Guitar Effects. And then you want to go to your send device. So I'm going to go to Zoom Guitar Effects. You can see that in here. And return device. Again, Zoom Guitar Effects. And then the next thing we want to do is click on this auto detect. And what this is going to do is adjust our latency, because there's going to be a bit of added latency for sending a track out into our hardware effect and then going back in. And this is going to adjust things to allow for that. So let's click on Run Test, and you can see we have 41.866 milliseconds, and we just want to click on Apply for that. And that's done. So now what I can do is just press play, and we're going to hear it with the guitar effect on it. All right, so that's just one of the patches in here. Let's change that up to something else. See what this sounds like. All right, that's pretty messed up. That one was kind of cool. And I've got a lot of different effects in here. So that's really cool. I've just added a guitar effects pedal, kind of like how I would add an amp sim plugin, but this brings it out into a hardware unit, which is really cool. And don't think that you have to use a guitar pedal on just guitars. Add it to a synth track, or maybe even try it out on some drums, whatever you want. Experiment with some sounds, and this is a great way to really create your own sound and to introduce some analog effects into your projects. Now, if you want to check out even more Tracktion Waveform tutorials, click the video on the screen right now, or click the one under it to see what YouTube recommends. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. For Audio Tech TV, I'm Zane. Keep creating, and we'll talk soon.